part, that is vascular ring, how that vascular ring get formed. Intravascular means what? Intravascular. Then what kind of the cells are present? What is the fate of primary xylem and the primary phloem? Because primary phloem, old one or the weak one, they undergo the crush, and ultimately now what happened? Whatever the primary xylems are present, these are the one kind of the strong tissue. Now they can push towards the center, and inside the center pith are present, and due to their pushing phenomena, now that pith is completely crushed, and interior area it is completely filled with the secondary xylem, and secondary xylem means nothing but we are talking about that is formation of the wood. Now fifth one, we are talking about annual ring formation. So next step we are talking about, there is a formation of the annual ring. Neat favorite question, neat favorite part, annual ring. Okay, question. So when we are talking about the annual ring, basically, first of all, we are talking about at what area, means which condition, which favorable environmental condition, these are the favorable for the annual ring formation. And then we talk about what is meaning of the annual ring. So first of all, we are taking the first condition, that is tropical region. Tropical region or tropical area. Normally what happens, under the tropical region throughout the year, whole year, favorable environment is present. Throughout the year, there is the presence of favorable environment. Okay, favorable conditions are present. And now what happened? Favorable conditions in the sense we are talking about temperature also favorable, as well as rainfall. They are also favorable, right? So now what happened? So what happened during this favorable condition? If water is present in plenty amount, again temperature and also it is present in favorable condition. That time, whatever the activity, so activity of that vascular cambium, they get increased. Obviously, because we are talking about the cambium, if environmental conditions, water, temperature, everything is good, ultimately that activity of the vascular cambium, they get increased. And now what happens? If there is an activity of the vascular cambium get increased, it means that continuously they can form only secondary tissue. Continuously they can form a secondary tissue. Means what? Continuously they can form secondary xylem, and continuously they can form secondary phloem. So simple funda, we are talking about the tropical region. Under the tropical region throughout the year, whole year, favorable conditions are there, temperature are favorable, rainfall also favorable. So now what happened? Due to under favorable condition, activity of the vascular cambium they get increased, and due to their activity, ultimately now that secondary tissue like secondary xylem activity increase, as well as the secondary phloem activity also increase. So these are the first point with respect to tropical region. Okay, and please remember, tropical, during the tropical region there is a no formation of annual ring. No formation of such kind of this annual ring. Okay, there is a no formation of which ring? There is an annual ring. Under which condition? Under tropical region. Now we try to understand what is meaning of the temperate region. What happened with respect to temperate? Quickly. So we are talking about under the temperate region. Now what happened? Temperate region means what? It having the two conditions. Means favorable as well as the unfavorable, because throughout the year temperature or favorable condition is not present. Throughout the year environmental condition they are showing fluctuation. So when we are talking about the temperate region basically they having the two zones, two environmental zones. Number one, we are talking about the favorable, and another one unfavorable. Favorable as well as the unfavorable. Normally what happens? Quickly we are taking the difference between, because these are the temperate region where annual ring get formed. So what is meaning of the annual ring? At the end of this explanation, I'll share you one image so you can clearly identify how that annual ring it is look, because it is a one kind of the part, means it is a part of wood. So dark color and the faint color, so you can easily understand those things. So first of all, we try to understand temperate region. These are the favorable region where annual ring they get formed. Okay, annual ring they get formed. Okay, so quickly divide into two parts: favorable and the unfavorable condition. Because temperate zone, you know very well, maximum cold environmental conditions are present. Spring season is very short, favorable conditions is very short. So on the basis of that, we are trying to understand in temperate zone how that zone is responsible for formation of the annual ring. Okay? So quickly check. We discussed the tropical area. Tropical area means throughout the year, constant environment, temperature good, even rainfall also good. So there is no any unfavorable season. So no formation of the annual ring. But please remember, annual ring get formed where temperature they are showing variation, temperature showing favorable and the unfavorable condition. So that's why temperate zone, these are the exactly zone where annual ring they get formed. Okay? So first of all, complete this part. Once you're done, please tell me, then I will continue. Aditya, Anand, Aditi.
May I please scroll up?
Hmm. Hmm. Shivam, done?
Yes, ma'am, done.
ठीक है चलो. Yeah. So next part, quickly we are talking about the difference between the favorable and the unfavorable condition. Okay? Yeah. So now what happened when we are talking about the favorable condition? It means that we are talking about the season, spring season, and that spring season also called as the early summer, where everything is good. Early summer. So simply we are talking about the spring season or the early summer. When we are talking about the unfavorable condition, nothing but we are talking about the autumn, and autumn season also called as the winter. So just try to understand exactly. Season means what? We are talking about the spring season, which is a favorable, and the winter season, which is a unfavorable. Because I hope आपको याद होगा, before I discuss this part, what is meaning of the tropics, what is meaning of the equator, polar region, now the temperature zone, right? So temperature means temperate zone, nothing but where gymnosperms are present, like pinus plant present. Hello. Yeah, so these are the area where pinus plants are present. We देखा था Christmas tree also. So these are the having some specific kind of the modification. So when we are talking about the temperate zone, it is zone that area it is divided into two parts: favorable season and the unfavorable season. Favorable condition means we are talking about the spring, and spring also called as the early summer. While unfavorable, these are called as the autumn. Autumn also called as the winter. Okay, so these are the one thing. Now tell me, during the favorable condition, activity of vascular cambium is increase or decrease. Second point we are talking about. Tell me the activity of vascular cambium under the favorable condition. They increase or decrease? Yes. So activity of vascular cambium it's increased because everything is good. And you know very well, if vascular cambium activities increase, it means that they can form more secondary xylem, they can form more secondary phloem. And exactly reverse scenario, now when we are talking about the unfavorable condition, under the unfavorable condition, now such activity they get decline, they get decrease because unfavorable condition, obviously. So ultimately, they can decrease their rate of formation of the secondary xylem, they can decrease the rate of formation of the secondary phloem. So these are the second point with respect to activity of vascular cambium, increase and the decrease. Now, just we are talking about activity of the vascular cambium is increased, is more. It means that secondary tissue like xylem and the phloem, they form more, right? So simply we are talking about what? Activity of the vascular cambium increase is it means that is secondary tissue formation rate also increase. Yes or no? So that's why due to such increased formation of the rate, now they can form a band, and basically they form a broad band. What kind of this band they form? They form a broad band of the secondary xylem. So please remember one thing we are talking about, that is secondary tissue. Secondary tissue, nothing but we are talking about there is a presence of the secondary xylem and the secondary phloem. If vascular cambium is okay, they are under the favorable condition. Now retovascular cambium they get increased, and if retovascular cambium is get increased, it means that now that whatever the band get formed, band means what? हमें आपको याद है हमने डिस्कस किया था. Suppose these are the vascular cambium. Now towards the outer side there is a presence of the secondary
Teacher,
phloem,
what is the
secondary
band?
xylem. Sorry.
Teacher, what is the
हाँ.
band?
Band will, I'm talking about that band. Don't worry, I'll take the diagrammatic representation. Have patience. Okay. What I'm saying, because now what happened? Continuously secondary tissue they get added, new tissue they get added. So now what happened? They form a band. Band means what? Like this. Suppose second, I'll draw the structure. Suppose these are the vascular cambium. Okay. Now what happened? You know very well. Vascular cambium basically they divide toward the outer side, they divide toward the inner side. So again towards the outer side they are showing division, and you know very well toward the outer side there is a formation of the secondary phloem. Toward the inner side now there is a formation of the secondary xylem, and 8 to 10 times they form more active as compared to secondary phloem. So secondary xylem they are more active. So now what happened? If you compare this area, ये वाला zone अगर आपने consider किया, this one, all these are the part of the secondary tissue, right? Because it is consist of the secondary xylem as well as it consists of the secondary phloem. So entire this structure we can say these are the secondary tissue area. And just see the diameter, ये किस तरह से show कर रहा है? Basically they are showing the broad band. How they represent? They represent as a broad band. So secondary phloem and the secondary xylem, they can form a typical band. That band nothing but we are talking about that broad band. See, if cells added more, so ultimately that band basically they become broad. If less cell added, so ultimately they can become narrow. Got it? Got it? Band means what? We are considering the tissue, secondary xylem, secondary phloem they added. And now what happened? Entire that secondary tissue area, ये जो complete area, that area we have to consider band, secondary tissue band. So if favorable condition, so more secondary tissue get formed, and if more secondary tissue, so ultimately they can form a broad band. And if during the unfavorable condition, now that band basically it is become narrow. Got it? Clear this point? Any doubt? Yash? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Just quickly check broad band and the narrow band, because everything is good, favorable condition. So ultimately secondary tissue formation rate is more, and if secondary tissue formation rate is more, ultimately whatever the band is become, band of area of the secondary tissue is quite broad. So that's why we are talking about they form a broad band. And ultimately when you compare this point with unfavorable condition, under the unfavorable condition that secondary tissue formation rate is quite decrease, rate basically they decrease, and if rate is decreased, ultimately they can form a band. That band simply is called as the narrow band. Got it? Clear? Chalo. Now we are talking about, obviously we are talking about the part of the secondary xylem, which is a more active. Now, when we are talking about under the favorable conditions, so now what happens? If cells are more active, it means that they require more water. Vascular cambium, they are showing the more activity. And if they are showing the more activity, ultimately what happens? Water conduction or water requirement is more. And to fulfill that water requirement, now that vessels and the tracheids, they are quite longer with broad lumen. So we are talking about the next point. Water conduction, pipeline, simply we are talking about that is tracheids. Another one we are talking about the vessels, right? So tracheids and the vessels, they are more longer as well as it having broad lumen. And you know very well what is meaning of the lumen and why such condition is present, because cells are more active, means vascular cambium basically it is more active, and if it is more active, ultimately there is a requirement of water also more. Got it? So simple funda, broad lumen of tracheids and the vessel, they form during the favorable condition, during the spring season, during the early summer. Because if tracheids and vessel, major tissue responsible for the water conduction, if they are more, means they are having the broad lumen, means they are more active. And if definitely why they are more active, because vascular cambium, these are the showing the more activity, they require more water, they require the more food. So ultimately now what happens, for the requirement of the more water, that cells it is become longer as well as the lumen that become broad. Simple. Hmm? Chalo. And exactly reverse scenario. Now what happened? During the unfavorable condition, tracheids and the vessels they become smaller. With narrow lumen. Okay? With narrow lumen. That's it. Any doubt from this point? So we are talking about the area that is tracheids and the vessels. Yeah. Done this part? Done. Yeah. Another important point. Now during the light condition, means during the favorable condition, now what happens? Vascular cambium is more active. Vascular cambium is more active means they can form a more cells. It means that rate of cell division is quite more. So on the basis of that, whatever we are talking about the cell wall. एक second.
Excuse me, ma'am.
हाँ.
Ma'am, can you please share the notes of this class?
Obviously, every day I am sharing this part.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Previously also I shared.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So now try to understand cells are living, cells are more active. So that's why whatever the cell wall is present, cell wall basically they are less thicker. Thin नहीं कह रहे हम, we are talking about less thicker. Cell wall basically these are the less thicker. Why? Because cells are more active, and obviously if less thicker cell wall is present. Now that color of that cell wall, basically they can form a lighter color. Lighter color. Cell wall thicker hai, and now obviously how they form? They form the lighter color. On the basis of that, now whatever the wood get formed during the spring season, during the favorable condition, that wood basically is called as the early wood or also called as the spring wood. So we are taking the one concept. What is meaning of the early wood? And early wood also called as the spring wood. So just see the simple definition. During the favorable condition, now what happened? That is, cells are more active, that is vascular cambium basically, and due to vascular cambium activity, now whatever the cell wall, basically these are the less thicker, first one. Another one, wood basically they are light in color. Okay, wood basically these are the light in color. As well as we are talking about, that is, they consist of the broad band. Broad band is present, and just we discussed broad band of secondary xylem and the secondary phloem. On the basis of these three category, simply such wood, it is called as the spring wood or also called as the early wood. So one question, what is the characteristic features for the spring wood? So please remember, during the temperate zone, there is a two drastic environmental condition. One is favorable, another one is unfavorable. During the favorable condition, the activity of vascular cambium, these are increased. So due to vascular cambium activity, now there is a formation of the more secondary xylem cells and more secondary phloem. And you know very well, as compared to secondary phloem, secondary xylem formation rate, they are 8 to 10 times more. So obviously, and secondary xylem, they get formed, and central part, that is peak part, they slowly they get crushed. Now what happens? Cells are more active. So that's why whatever the cell wall is present, that cell wall basically is a less thicker. Because now what happened during the cell division? That cell should be get divided. One cell it is so divided into two, then two into four. So there is a no need of the thick cell wall. So initially what happened? Cells are active that time. Whatever the cell wall is present, cell wall is less thicker. And color of that, whatever the wood is present, that wood it having the less color with broad band. So such characteristic feature, these are the specifically suitable for the spring wood, which is get formed during the favorable condition during the spring season or during the early summer season. Got it? You have to remember these three important words, okay? Less thicker cell wall, light in color, as well as the broad bands are present. Got it? Okay, Yash. What about the other students? Do you have any doubt? आदित्य, क्या बात है? पॉपुलेशन बढ़ गया? हाँ, रोज में है शायद हम लोगों को. आज तो 59 है टोटल. हाँ. Okay. Heram, that Aradhya Govarkar, ये medical में ही थी engineering में. I think he already, yeah, he already is part of medical, I think. But class attend.
Ma'am, engineering.
Engineering. Okay. So why he liking or disliking mind committing? तुम लोग क्या करते हो पता है? Something the truth dare, you are playing something game. He told me that, and he say me the name of the students also. किसने debate लगाई थी? So you are playing something truth and dare, right? Yeah, I know. He told me what's the reason. Okay, chalo. So next part we are talking about cell wall less thicker, lighter in color, early wood, spring wood during the favorable condition. Cell wall basically these are the less thicker, and wood basically these are the light wood in color, and broad basically due to secondary tissue growth now they form a broad band. ठीक है. Yeah, I know he does always think this what such a nonsense thing, and simply he what he gave the explanation. मैम मैं तो थोड़ा सा मेरे दोस्त ने मेरे साथ बेट लगाई थी कि every day I'll dislike, I'll give that emoji, different angry emoji, so up to 4 years. So ठीक है, मैं उसको पेरेंट्स के बताती हूँ कैसे इमोजी देने, then I'll talk. चलो. So next part we are talking about cell wall with respect to uh, unfavorable condition. So obviously exactly reverse scenario होगा. Now first part we are talking about the cell wall which is present. एक second था. Yeah. So next part we are talking about cell wall. Exactly reverse scenario. Please remember during the unfavorable conditions, so ultimately they can form a thickened cell wall. Cell wall it is quite thickened, more thickened, right? Ultimately next one, the color of that wood color basically it is become dark in color. यहाँ पे light था, now it is become dark in color. And please remember, if such condition where thickened cell wall is present, even wood color is quite dark with narrow band, such kind of the wood simply it is called as the late wood. Exactly early के reverse है. And also these are called as the autumn because they form during the autumn season. They can form during the unfavorable condition. So that's why it is called as the autumn wood. And what is the characteristic features for the autumn wood? Number one, thickened cell wall because unfavorable condition is. Number second, color of the wood basically dark color. And the last one, now there is a presence of narrow band because now what happened during the unfavorable condition, the activity of vascular cambium they get declined, and if vascular cambium activities decline, now the less secondary xylem tissue, so now ultimately they can form a narrow band. Got it? Yeah, clear this point? Clear? Any doubt? You have to remember this point, okay? In your school exam also a question banega. Early wood, spring wood, what is the difference? So you have to comparison between them. Favorable condition, unfavorable condition. Hmm? Okay, Baba, clear? Any doubt from the spring wood and the autumn wood? Yes or no? Okay, chalo. So now just see, we are talking about what is the exactly meaning of annual leaf. So ये तो हमने clear किया. During the tropical zone, during the tropical area, there is a no formation of the annual rain because throughout the year, constant environmental conditions are present. But during the temperate region, favorable condition भी होगा, unfavorable condition भी होगा, and now these are the responsible for the annual rain formation. So what is meaning of the annual rain? Simple. Now what happened within 1 year?
Ma'am, can you scroll up?
एक सेकेंड. ठीक है, पहले कंप्लीट करो एंड तब तक मैं काम करती हूँ. आई शेयर दी सम इमेज फॉर द एनुअल डे. ओके. एक सेकंड. Just check the chart box. Okay. Red ink. Yeah, sure. Just check the chart box. Can you see something to two different colors? Something to one at the center कुछ तो dark color है. That dark color wood means which color? That is autumn wood. And the surrounding area basically now what happened? There is a formation of the something different band. That is they can form which condition? That is light color band or light color wood simply it is called as the early wood or the spring wood. So now what happened? Within a year दो conditions होंगे, favorable condition as well as the unfavorable condition. So during the temperate zone, temperate area, basically two conditions are there, favorable environmental condition and as well as there is the presence of unfavorable environmental condition. Just we discuss, during the favorable condition, now there is a formation of the broad band of secondary xylem. Secondary xylem का जो band बनेगा, basically they can form a broad band because they are more active as compared to secondary phloem. When you compare this point with unfavorable condition, so during the unfavorable condition, whatever the secondary xylem get formed, that secondary xylem, they can form simply a narrow band. ठीक है, तो एक बना broad band during the favorable condition and unfavorable condition, now they form the narrow band. Now what happens? Whatever the band they get formed during the favorable condition, that band or that complete area basically these are called as the spring wood, and during the unfavorable condition whatever the wood get formed, that wood basically is called as the autumn wood. So spring wood plus autumn wood within one area, broad band, narrow band, spring wood as well as the autumn wood. So collectively that spring wood who having the broad band as well as the narrow band, that is autumn wood, is collectively these are called as a annual ring. Got it? Collectively these are called as the annual ring. It means that within a 1 year, now activity of the vascular cambium they get changed. During the favorable condition they can form a spring wood, during the unfavorable condition they can form a autumn wood, which is a morphologically different, activity also different. So collectively that entire structure means spring wood as well as the autumn wood, collectively these are called as the annual ring. Got it? And it is represented as a one annual ring. Please remember, within a 1 year जितने भी rings बन रहे, all these are considered as a one annual ring because that annual ring they get formed within a 1 year. So during the favorable condition, now there is a formation of the spring wood, unfavorable condition, formation of the autumn wood. Collectively, these are called as the one annual ring. Got it? Chalo. Okay. So we are taking one question. 1 second. We are taking one question related to dendrochronology. Okay, chalo. Yeah. So we are taking one question that is related to.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Scroll up, please.
Yes, ma'am. Please scroll.
I knew it. Chalo.
Yes, ma'am.
So we are taking one question for the NEET, I think 2019. Heram, एक बार check करो यार, model check करो. If you find out some question related to annual ring, then please share. So we are talking about dendrochronology. Dendrochronology means what? Basically, these are the branch of science which deals with counting the annual ring and to find out the age of the plant. So simple, dendrochronology, basically these are the consider. It's a one technique. These are the one method. Where?
Ma'am, scroll up.
एक second. Hmm. Done. Done.
Done, ma'am.
Hmm. Chalo. So what is meaning of the dendrochronology? Branch of science which deals with by counting number of annual ring, number of annual ring to find the age of the plant. Please remember, it's very important question. How to find out age of the plant? Option में height भी parameter होगा, but please remember height is not a correct parameter. Definitely, plant basically they are showing continuously growth. Slowly height will be increased. But now the correct method to find out age of the plant, that is dendrochronology. And what is meaning of the dendrochronology? We have to just count the number of the annual ring. For example, if annual rings 50 number, that time we can say age of that plant, basically these are the 50. So please remember, when you count the annual ring, that time one annual ring they can form per year. Obviously, है ना? They can form per year. So per year only one annual ring get formed. So on the basis of that, you can easily find out what is the exactly age of that plant. And please understand one concept. Annual ring means you have to consider spring wood as well as the autumn wood. Collectively, we called as the annual ring. Okay? Yeah. Question number 29. Acha, here. Just see the question. Yeah. Which of the statement given 2019 का question है? Yeah. Which of the following statement given below is not true about the formation of the annual ring? Not true पूछा हुआ है, okay? Not true. So see the first option. Annual ring are not prominent in trees of temperate region. Is this true? It's not prominent in the trees of the temperate region. Is it true? Hello? See the second option. Annual ring is a combination of the spring wood and the autumn wood who produced in a year. Yes. Second option, that is true. Third, देखो, differential activity of the cambium cause light and the dark band of tissue early and the late wood respectively. Yes, हमने discuss किया. Because now what happened? Due to ocular cambium activity, now there is a formation of the broad band, and that broad band basically is having the thinner cell wall. Cell wall is quite less thick, as well as the color of the wood, it is light in color. And when you compare this point with unfavorable condition, during the unfavorable condition, now the activity of this ocular cambium will get increased. They form a narrow band with thicker cell wall, and the color of that wood is quite dark. So option C also correct. D में देखो क्या है? Activity of the cambium it depend upon the variation in climate. Of course, climate हमने देखा. Temperature is important phenomena. Annual precipitation, that is rainfall also, these are the important phenomena. So first option is totally wrong. Annual rings are not prominent in trees of the temperate region. Yes, it is a prominent. Annual ring formation is very much common phenomena in temperate zone. It is not present in tropical zone.
Ma'am, your voice is cracking.
Got it. Now it's clear, Amod? Question number 29, first option is wrong because annual ring formation is very much common in case of temperate, but in case of tropical plants, they not form. because in case of tropics, throughout the year, favorable conditions, so it is not possible to form spring wood and the autumn wood. अरे कोई तो बताओ, sound is clear? Anyone?
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Yes.
Clear now? Yeah, okay, chalo. So next part, yeah. So next part we are talking about, that is formation of the heartwood and the sapwood. Again for the your school exam, यहाँ से question बनेगा. देखो, I'm telling you question directly. वाह. So fifth हो गया. Now we are talking about the 6th point. Fifth one, that is annual rain formation. Now we are talking about the 6th point, that is formation of heartwood and sapwood. Okay, formation of this heartwood and the sapwood. So quickly I'm talking about how that heartwood and the sapwood is get formed. Flow chart में देखते हैं थोड़ा सा, we try to understand. Now here we discuss there is a presence of the vascular cambium. ठीक है, there is a presence of the cambium. That cambium basically is called as the vascular cambium. Now what happened? This vascular cambium, they cut some cells and they added a new cells, added cells toward the inner direction. And you know very well, tell me exactly inner side of the vascular cambium क्या present होगा? Which type of the cells are present? Vascular cambium, they add cells toward the inner side. Which kind of the cells? Huh? Tell me. Which kind of the cells they get formed? अरे सीक्वेंस बताया था ना, 1 2 3 4 5. हेलो. Yes, Sakshi, good. So now there is a formation of the cell, that is secondary xylem. Yes, Spruha, correct है. Yeah, true. So there is a, yeah Sanika, there is a formation of the secondary xylem. ठीक है. Now what happened? Such secondary xylem, ये जो secondary xylem है, obviously now what happened? Some cells of secondary xylem, some cells of secondary xylem, they get cut. Not all, please remember, some cells, right? And now what happened? Finally, they form a specific type of the wood. That wood basically is called as the sapwood. They form which wood? They form a sapwood. Now what happened? Further, that sapwood, it is converted into hardwood. इसमें convert हुआ sapwood. Sapwood further it is converted into hardwood. And please remember, hardwood nothing but, here we are talking about that these are the cells, these are the tissue, these are the secondary xylem which is present exactly at the center. So just check the point. We have to focus only 2 points. Number one, sapwood, and the number one, that is hardwood. What happened? We are start from the vascular cambium. Listen carefully, okay? Vascular cambium, they add some cells toward the inner direction, and that cells it is called as the secondary xylem. You know very well, secondary xylem, they slowly grow toward the inward direction. They push primary xylem. They crush the internal pith area. But now some cells of the secondary xylem, they converted into sapwood. Just remember sapwood. हम आगे देखेंगे difference क्या होगा. Simply they converted into which wood? That is sapwood. Now some cells of the further that sapwood, it is converted into heartwood. इसमें convert हुआ, they converted into hardwood. So quickly take diagrammatic representation, how does it exactly look. First of all, complete this chart.
Teacher, I can't hear you.
Why?
Ma'am, are you writing?
Mic is on, Baba. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, complete this writing part. एक minute. First of all, complete this writing part. Then I'll show you the diagrammatic representation for the hardwood and the sapwood. Last part actually, it's quite interesting. थोड़ा सा चाहिए, थोड़ा सा एक efforts लो. Once you understand this concept, ultimately, then done. No need to remember again and again. Done? Sanvi, Sakshi, Sanika, Saniya, Rishikesh. झालं का? झालं? चलो. So just see the diagrammatic representation. ठीक है? पद्मा. If you want, you can draw the diagram also. ये एक muscular bundle. Suppose these are the some tiers of this thing. Suppose outermost boundary. Now here we are talking about ये present है. There is a presence of the vascular cambium. So just I'm writing the V cambium. If you want, you can write down the entire word. There is a presence of the V cambium, presence of the vascular cambium. Now what happened? Just we discussed below the vascular cambium. Now there is a presence of the secondary xylem. So suppose ये cells हैं. This one.
I can't hear you. Voice is not clear.
Really? Only for you or for all?
It's audible, ma'am.
It's audible? Okay. Just text me. Do you feel any bad sound or you are not clearly hear me? Just text me. Hiram, not for me. Okay, Hiram. Okay. Who is facing problem? Please tell me. Who is facing problem? Do one thing, Ba. Just exit the meeting and again try to join. Okay? Rejoin. Yeah. So now we are talking about this color. Basically, these are called as the secondary xylem. Now what we write down here? Vascular cambium, they add new cells toward the inner direction. That cells secondary, these are called as the secondary xylem. Some cells of the secondary xylem they cut.
Teacher, I can hear you now.
Okay, now okay, fine. Yeah. So some cells of the secondary xylem they get cut, and now what happened? Now they form a sapwood. So कहाँ पे होगा sapwood का position देखो? Just see the position for the sapwood. So these are the area. This one. Some cells which is exactly below the secondary xylem. Now these are called as the which wood? That is sapwood. So use the pencil or use the highlighter and give this some broad structure like this. इस तरह से दे दो. Okay. So this green color basically represent for what? It is represent for the sapwood. Now what happened? Further that sapwood it is converted into heartwood. So heart, obviously we are talking about the heart, means exactly central cell, this one. यूज द पेंसिल फॉर शेड, एक को डार्क शेड करो, दूसरे को थोड़ा फेंट शेड करो, यूज द पेंसिल. हाँ, otherwise it can print back pages also if you are using pen and other pencil. Yeah, done. So even a heart of wood. So this color, simply we are talking about which wood, that is heartwood, which is present at the center. So just try to understand the position. Number one, muscular cambium. Number second, secondary xylem. Number third, there is a formation of the sapwood, and finally we are talking about the heartwood. Because ये जो part है, these are the part of the secondary growth. Secondary growth means what? Now cells are fully mature. These are the stage where wood formation get initiated, and now we are talking about the different types of the wood. On the हमने देखा था spring and the autumn on the basis of favorable and the unfavorable condition. Now we are talking about the another type, sapwood and the heartwood. So these are the exactly position for the sap and the heartwood. Chalo. So complete this diagram. Once you finish, please tell me. Then we'll take about difference between the sapwood and the heartwood. Okay. Done, beta.
Done, ma'am.
सबका हो गया? Should I continue? Yeah. So divide your page into two parts. Now we are taking the difference between the sapwood and the heartwood. And for your school exam, one question coming from this wood part. Chalo. Yeah. So quickly we are talking about difference between the sap and the heartwood. Position तो समझ में आ गया ना? Heart means they present at the center, and surrounding area they covered with the sapwood. So just remember the position and on the basis of their function, their position, their origin, we are taking some points. Difference between the heartwood and sapwood. Okay. So basically, this heartwood, they are present at the center, obviously. And when we are talking about the sapwood basically they present toward the outer side, means surrounding area, outer side of the heartwood. So quickly we are taking the some point. Basically, heartwood, they are non-functional wood. These are called as the non-functional wood. And why we are talking about non-functional wood? Because hardwood, it is not involved in water conduction. Okay, they are not involved in water conduction. That's what is called as the non-functional. Now, when we are talking about the sapwood basically these are the functional wood. Is a functional wood, and why we are talking about the functional wood? Obviously, they are responsible for the water conduction. They performing a function that is water conduction. So these are the exactly first difference with respect to heartwood and the sapwood on the basis of their function. Heartwood present at the center, but these are the non-functional wood because such wood it is not responsible for the water conduction, while sapwood these are the functional because they are responsible for water conduction. Now we are talking about reason why they are not involved during the water conduction. इसका क्या reason हो सकता है? Why such kind of this wood is not performing the water conduction? Because first reason, inside the heartwood there is an accumulation of lots of material. Basically, there is an accumulation of some material, there is an accumulation of some chemicals, and that chemicals nothing but we are taking one list, that is there is accumulation of the gum, there is accumulation of the resin, accumulation of the tannin, as well as accumulation of the some essential oils. जैसे होता है ना sandalwood oil is the example of the heartwood because they having the essential oil, and as well as there is a presence of some aromatic component. So these are the few examples where there is the accumulation of the chemical, and as well as number second, is the first one accumulation. But along with that, we are talking about there is a accumulation of tallows also. So could you please tell me if there is a accumulation of the tallows, now what will be the effect? हमने देखा था ये point. If inside the any component, if inside the vessels, inside the brackets, tallows gets accumulated, now what happens? Now what happened? Tell me the answer. Yes, I'm talking about if accumulation of the tallows, now what will be the result? Yes, water conduction is get inhibited. It means that there is a no water conduction. Because now what happened? Tallows, they block the peak. They block the pore where water they are showing the movement. So now what happened? There is a no water conduction to that vessels. So definitely another important parameter, these are having chemical accumulation and as well as they are having the tallows accumulation. But please remember such kind of these chemicals, it is totally absent in case of the sapwood, and there is no any deposition of tallows material also in case of the sapwood. So both these points totally absent in case of the sapwood. Okay, so here's the second point. Now we are talking about color. Basically, now what happened when we are talking about this that hardwood basically they are dark in color. Why? Due to accumulation of the chemical. So simply we are talking about due to chemical, because lots of chemical they are get added, gum हो गया, resin हो गया, tannin हो गया, some essential oils, some aromatic component. So due to there is a different accumulation due to chemical. Now whatever the color, so that color it is become dark in color. That wood color basically these are the dark in color. But when you compare this point, you know very well such type of the chemical it is not get accumulated. So obviously the color of the sap wood is lighter in color. ठीक है? Yeah. Next point, obviously, here we are talking about there is a different chemical they get accumulated. So when we are talking about the total weight, the total molecular weight, so obviously due to accumulation of the different chemical, so now molecular weight of hardwood is quite high. And when we are talking about molecular weight with respect to sapwood is quite less because there is a no chemical deposition. On the basis of that, definitely sapwood they having the low molecular weight or less molecular weight. Now, another point, when we are talking about what is the exactly major function. So in case of the function, just we discussed, they are having support, means they are non-functional basically. So one function basically they are responsible for the provide the mechanical support, and the another function Due to some aromatic component, due to some essential oils which is present inside the hardwood, so hardwood they are showing resistance activity to different they are showing resistance activity to different organisms, like they are showing resistance activity to microbial attack, to pathogenic attack, or for the insect attack. Because now what happened inside that hardwood essential oils are present. For example, we are taking the neem plant we can, because you know very well it's quite bitter, because it's having some essential oils, and that's why for the neem leaves basically they use as a mosquito repellent, natural mosquito repellent, because now it is having some specific type of the aroma, and due to that aroma that mosquito or the other insect they repel. So such kind of this different aromatic component, different essential oils, they are associated with the hardwood. So such kind of this hardwood they are act as a good resistance activity. Same for the sandalwood. Sandalwood it is having the aroma, right? So it is having this some activity, means they provide the mechanical support, as well as they are having some economic importance also. And some like neem wood or the other wood, they are having some resistance activity. So under this resistance activity, we are taking one example. One plant we are taking, that is teak plant. We are taking one example for the teak plant. Teak plant basically they are showing resistance activity against the termite. So they are showing resistance activity against termites. And you know very well, termites basically they belong to insect category. So they are showing some resistance activity also. And the another point, when we are talking about the function with respect to sapwood, just we discuss conduction of water. That's it. Now, last point. Can you tell me, out of this sapwood and the hardwood, uh, which wood is more stronger? Which wood is more durable? Out of the hardwood and the sapwood, which wood is quite stronger? Which having the more durable? Who having the more half-life? Hardwood. Very good. So that's why hardwood also called as the duramen wood. Duramen की बात हुई जाती है, remember? So duramen wood means it is having the quite longer lifespan. They are having they can sustain, they can live, they can having resistance activity for the more time. So hardwood also called as the duramen wood. And exactly reverse scenario, sapwood basically they don't have any chemical deposition, so they are very prone, they are very sensitive to attack like microbial attack, insect attack. So now what happened, on the basis of their lifespan, simply that sapwood also called as Alburon wood. Alburon wood. So duramen wood and the Alburonum wood. Simple meaning on the basis of their lifespan. Okay? That's it. So these are the exactly difference between the hardwood and the sapwood. Do you have any doubt from this point? Sanya? Doubt? Yes, for what? चलो. Now, next point, we are talking about some concept or some important point with respect to hardwood and the sapwood, because यहाँ पे vascular cambium part is over. Now we have to start with the cork cambium, but cork cambium is very easy. So first of all, we are talking about normally what happen according to age when that sapwood it is converted into hardwood. So hardwood activities get increased. But now what happen when we are talking about the sapwood? Sapwood basically it is a stable, it is a constant. Means number जितने भी number होंगे, number of the sapwood cells those are associated. So whenever we are talking about the size of that sapwood, that size basically is just stable. Why we are talking about this stable? Because now during the sapwood formation, the rate of sapwood formation and as well as the rate of conversion into hardwood is equal, because just हमने discuss किया था some cells of the secondary xylem it is converted into sapwood. Now that sapwood it is further converted into hardwood. So now what happened? One point, whatever we are talking about, that size of that sapwood, that size it is quite equal, that quite stable, because formation and the conversion, that rate is totally equal. But please remember, according to age, according to time, slowly, the hard, sorry, red is here. That hardwood size it will be increased according to time, because saps would constant रहेगा. And now what happen, how that size will be increased? Ultimately the size means sapwood they add the new cells, they convert into hardwood, and now the internal area is completely covered with the hardwood tissue. Done. Okay, Sakshi, listen. uh, Position you know very well, sapwood and the hardwood. Now what happened? Whatever the band of that sapwood, that band or size of that sapwood is constant. Okay? Why constant? Because number of the formation of the sapwood formation rate is equal to conversion into hardwood. For example, if new hardwood cells get sapwood cells get formed, 100 suppose, so ultimately that 100 they get converted into hardwood. So जितने convert हो गए, again vascular cambium they can form 100 sapwood. That 100 they convert into hardwood. Again vascular cambium they can form 100 sapwood. That 100 sapwood is converted into hardwood. So size number is constant for the hardwood. For vascular cambium, if they produce 100 sapwood, now that 100 they convert into 100 hardwood, and again formation and the conversion rate is constant. So on the basis of that, simply we are taking that sapwood size is stable. But now what happened? What about the hardwood? Now hardwood continuously cells get added at the center. So suppose कि cell है, I'm telling you the diagram. Suppose ये vascular cambium है. I'm writing just BC. Initially what happened? ये जो area है, suppose these are the cell, these are the area for the sapwood. इतना सा area किसके लिए? Sapwood के लिए. But now what happened? That sapwood they added some cells at the center, and that cells nothing but these are the hardwood. इतने cells add किए. Now what happened in second scenario? Now these are the vascular cambium. Inside the vascular cambium, sapwood basically these are the constant. But now what happened? Size of the hardwood is get increased. अभी इतना बन गया. Because now what happened? More sapwood cells they converted into hardwood. Okay. Now in third diagram, now these are the vascular cambium. Now the size of that sapwood, it is constant. But now what happened? Finally, at the center, the size of the hardwood is get increased. So now what happened? Internal area, it is completely filled with the hardwood due to accumulation of the chemical. Because now what happened? Sapwood, they converted into hardwood, and just we discussed hardwood, nothing but they are having some aromatic component, they are having some essential oils, gum hoga, resin hoga, tannin hoga. So internal area size it is quite increased. Got it? Clear this point? So just see the changes. पहले इतना था hardwood, now it is become like this, now it is become like this. Hmm? So we are taking the another concept. Suppose now what happened? Sapwood, they form a hardwood. Internal area, slowly, they covered with the hardwood. So now what happened? Now that hardwood, they exert pressure toward the outer side because new cells add हो रहे, internal area completely packed हो गया. There is a no space. So now what happened? From the inner side, hardwood, they exert pressure toward the outer side, and due to that pressure, cortex cell, epidermis cell, they start breakdown. Just see, next point we are talking about, simply, we are talking about that is hardwood. Hardwood, basically, they exert pressure. They exert pressure towards outer direction. Due to pressure, epidermis, you know very well, epidermis, that is outermost boundary, outermost wall of the plant, as well as the cortex cell, they start breakdown. Because pressure exert हो रहा है, because at the center there is a no space. Now that hard tissue continuously add हो रहे, there is accumulation of the material. So now what happened? They exert pressure toward the outer side. And now what happened? Due to that pressure, whatever the epidermis are there, whatever the cortex cells are there, that cortex cells, they start break. And now what happened? To avoid break, or because obviously if that wall it is get break, if cells get break, ultimately क्या होगा यहाँ पे? There is a loss of water. Obviously, there is a loss of water. And now these are the another solution to avoid water loss. To avoid water loss, now toward the outer side, there is a formation of the cork cambium. So just try to understand, because अब हमें start करना है next point, what is meaning of the cork cambium, because very simple है, very short है. Vascular cambium is quite larger, cork cambium very simple funda. So just try to understand. I'm again repeating this point. At the center sapwood होगा. Sapwood, now they continuously they convert into hardwood. Size of the sapwood is constant, but hardwood size it is increased because now continuously sapwood they convert into hardwood. Hardwood itself is having some chemicals, some aromatic components. So ultimately what happens? Internal area is completely filled with the hardwood. इससे अभी नए सेल ऐड होते जा रहे, chemical also they get accumulated. So now what happened? That hardwood they exert pressure, they apply pressure toward the outer side. So you know very well, plant outer side, basically these are the epidermis. Inside the epidermis now there is a presence of the cortex cell. So now what happened? Due to that pressure, slowly that cells, which cells, epidermis cell, cortex cells, they start breakdown. Right? And obviously, if cells get break, there is a loss of water. So solution to avoid loss of water, now there is a formation of the new cambium, and that cambium basically is called as the cork cambium. Got it? अब तक हमने देखा था all this entire information basically vascular cambium. Vascular cambium, they form at the center of the cell. But now we are talking about cork cambium, which is formed toward the outer side. They form at the extracellular region. Extracellular region means toward the outer side. So vascular cambium at the center. And now we are talking about toward the outer side. There is a presence of cork cambium. Got it? Should I continue with the cork cambium? Should I continue with cork cambium? Any doubt how that cork cambium get formed? Please try to understand. जहाँ तक vascular cambium part is done, now we are talking about the last point of this chapter, cork cambium. Done? Done? Any doubt? Any doubt how the cork cambium get formed? Sure? Any doubt? See, initially vascular cambium banega at the center, but now what happened once there is a formation of the hardwood, now they exert pressure toward the outer side. Now, outer side, now the epidermis, the wall start breaking, and if ultimately if wall, epidermis, outermost covering it is break, now there is a water loss, and you know very well, water is very essential part, essential element for the plant development. So to avoid the water loss, now there is a formation of the cork cambium. Lisa, अरे बोला anyone? No. Okay, yes. Thank you. Yeah. So right now the title we are talking about the cork cambium, and again this part is neat favorite part. Cork cambium. Now first of all, cork cambium basically is present toward the outer side. It is present toward the outer side. Now what happened? Normally it's simply what happened, how they get formed. The outer cortex cell, I hope you know what is meaning of the cortex cell. We already detailed or already we discussed everything. So we are talking about the outer cortex cell. They undergo the process of de-differentiation. Which process? They undergo the process of de-differentiation. You know very well, de-differentiation means what? Regain division capacity. They regain division capacity. And finally, after the de-differentiation process, now there is a formation of the next cambium, that is cork cambium. Who get formed? Finally, there is a formation of the cork cambium. So just try to understand. Outer cortex cells only, because now what happened? Epidermis, these are the outermost. Below the epidermis, cortex cell is present. Now outermost cortex cell, not all, huh? Some outermost cortex cell, they undergo the process of the de-differentiation. They divide, they decide division. They undergo the re-division. So regain the division capacity, and finally they decided, I want to convert it into cork cambium. So if you see the exactly position for the cork cambium, suppose ये TS है, these are the TS of stem, dicot stem, okay? Because in case of the monocot, cambium is absent. So suppose these are the dicot stem. Inside the dicot stem, now we are talking about at the center region. यहाँ पे, at the central region, now there is a presence of the vascular cambium. So I am just writing V cambium. So V cambium की position यहाँ पे होगी at the center. But towards the periphery, Now there is a presence of the another cambium, that is cork cambium, like this. So this green color, nothing but we are talking about there is a presence of the next cambium, that is cork cambium. So please, if you want, in margin you can draw the diagram also. So cambium, vascular cambium, that is the stellar region. Stellar region means what? हमारा वाला stellar नहीं है, STELAR, stellar region. Stellar means central part. Extrastellar means what? Outer part. So vascular cambium, they present at the center. They form a secondary xylem. They form a sap tissue, sap wood. They can form a hardwood. As well as when we are talking about the outermost region, we are talking about that is cork cambium, which is present at extrastellar region. Extrastellar means what? Toward the outer side. ठीक है? Got it? So position पता चला where the cork cambium is present? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So another neat favorite question. Please listen this point carefully, and you have to practice this today. Huh. Don't worry, dear. I'll share the whiteboard link. Okay. You can complete your notebook after class. Hmm? Yeah. So please listen. Today itself you have to cover this part because thoda sa complicated part means with words. So now we are talking about, just we discussed, there is a formation of the one cambium that is called as the cork cambium. Which cambium get formed? Cork cambium. Cork cambium in other language, okay, in botanical language, these are also called as phylogen. क्या कहा जाता है? Phylogen. Cork cambium, they are also called as the phylogen. Please underline this word. Now similarly, that cork cambium, some cells of the cork cambium, they cut toward the outer side as well as they cut toward the inner side. Similar like a vascular cambium, हमने देखा था. Vascular cambium, some cells they cut toward the outer side, they form a secondary phloem. Some cells of the vascular cambium they cut toward the inner side, they form a secondary xylem. Similarly, cork cambium, also called as the phylogen, cut toward the outer side as well as some cells they cut towards inner side. Some cells outer cut होंगे, some cells inner cut होंगे. So first of all, we are talking about the outer one. So whatever the cells who cut toward the outer side, they simply form a cork cell. And cork cell in botanical language, these are also called as phylum. Phylogen, phylum. Underline this word. You have to practice this today. Okay? Practice karo again and again. Read it again and again. So towards the outer side, some cells of cork cambium they get cut. They form a cork cell, and cork cell also called as the phylum. Similarly, some cells of the cork cambium they cut towards the inner direction, and when they cut, now they form a specific type of the cells, that is secondary cortex. Now what they form? They form a secondary cortex, and please remember, in botanical language, secondary cortex also called as phylloderm. Fellow, everyone is fellow. Okay? So phylum, phylogen, phylloderm. Okay? Cork cambium called as the phylogen. Cork cambium goes toward the outer direction. They form a cork cell called as the phylum. Cork cambium will go toward the inner direction. Now they form the secondary cortex called as the phylloderm. And collectively, all these three layers, these are collectively called as periderm. Collectively, these are called as what? Periderm. So I'm giving one definition. Periderm is equal to phylum plus phylogen plus फेलो डाउन. ठीक है. So collectively all these three cells, those are formed due to activity of the core cambium toward the outermost side to avoid the water loss. These are collectively called as periderm. If you have modules, just open it, you will get one question related to this point. So these are the neat favorite part. Got it? Clear? Just revise this part. Phellum, phyllogen, phylloderm is equal to phylloderm. Is equal to periderm. Sorry. Phellum, phyllogen, phylloderm is equal to periderm. You have to read NCERT today itself. You have to complete this part. चलो. So any doubt from today's class? Yeah. So we'll finish this part. थोड़ा सा part बचा actually. I think we require 10 to 15 minutes to cover this chapter, and immediately we'll start with the cell cycle, cell division from next class. Yeah. So any doubt from today's class? Doubt asa? No? ठीक है, चलो. So with this we end today's session. Yeah. And another one. So another point, further part will continue with the next chapter. ठीक है? अरे रुक जाओ, मुझे फाइल तो सेव करने दो. Done. Yeah, चलो. Bye.